Alright, so you like pork belly, but don't want to spend hours braising or roasting it? Then Korean street-style pork belly may be right for you. Best part is, all you need is pork and salt. If you like this video, give it a like and consider subscribing. I release new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. And with all that being said, let's make some pork belly. Now you can definitely buy pre-cut pork belly for this, but the biggest issue is finding one that has a good fat to meat ratio. So for this, I prefer to slice my own off of a whole belly. This slab is roughly a quarter of a whole belly, and I'm just going to slice it into thirds. Anything that has a lot of fat on it is going to shrink up considerably, so you always want to go a bit bigger than what you'd like. Now, you can 100% skip this next step and go straight to frying. But if you want to seriously up your pork belly game, then take the time to do this. Trust me, it'll be worth it. The first thing I'm doing is scoring the fat by just taking my knife and making shallow diagonal cuts across the fat. This is going to do two things: allow the fat to render and crisp more easily, and to help the second thing I'm going to do, which is salt them. I'm just sprinkling enough kosher salt on them as if I was seasoning a steak, a good pinch per side. The meat will absorb the salt a lot quicker than the fat will, so by scoring it, we just increase the surface area, making it cure faster. And that's essentially what I'm going to do, is cure or dry age the pork belly in the fridge overnight. The salt will pull water out of the pork while at the same time making it more tender. And drying it in the fridge will help to form a really nice crust as it fries. So while the pork belly is doing its thing in the fridge, I'm going to make a pretty classic dip called Ssamjang. If you watched my Bosam video, then you saw me make Ssamjang already. This is going to be a much more simplified version. In a small bowl, combine Doenjang, Korean fermented soybean paste, Gochujang, fermented hot pepper paste, rice vinegar and syrup, and some sesame oil. Give it a good mix and set it aside to allow the flavors to come together. Ssamjang is kinda like a Korean barbecue sauce, and it tastes amazing with pretty much everything. So feel free to make a big batch. This stuff will last for months covered in the fridge. Now, through the magic of television, I can show you a pork belly that I've already cured for 24 hours. You can see how the fat has hardened a bit and has also darkened in color. The whole thing is a lot firmer as well. Set a large frying pan on medium-high heat. As usual, I recommend cast iron or anything with a heavy bottom. Now, the secret to street-style pork belly is searing it for a very long time in its own fat, so don't add any oil or anything to the pan, just the pork belly. Once it starts to brown a bit around the edges, turn the heat down to medium. The pan still needs to be hot enough to sear the pork, but low enough that it takes a long time and doesn't burn. To ensure an even crust, give it a few gentle pushes to make sure the entire surface comes in contact with the pan. You want it pretty deeply browned before you flip it. Then it's just a matter of searing it on all sides. But seriously, take your time. This recipe is beyond simple, it just takes some patience. Once it's browned on all sides, transfer the pork belly to a cutting board and slice it into roughly 1-inch pieces. Then transfer the belly back to the pan and sear the remaining two sides. So I was trying to get a nice overhead shot of this until I realized my lens was getting splattered with hot pork fat. So that was fun. Fill a dip bowl with the Ssamjang, pile the pork belly on a plate, season with kosher salt, and that's it. Korean street-style pork belly. It's incredibly tender and juicy on the inside and has a ludicrously crispy outside. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a like and consider subscribing. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok for more content.